I took a chess lesson from a former world champion, and not just any world champion, but the chess queen. That's Grandmaster Alexandra Kosteniuk, and she is an amazing person, 12th women's world chess champion, and also last year's world rapid chess champion. There are so many instructive moments in this lesson, and I even get to play Alexandra in a game of chess. At the very end, we do a Q&A, so you get to hear the former world champion's thoughts on chess today. Hope you enjoy. Happy learning, everyone. I have a game that I played a couple of days ago. I'm trying to play a lot more rapid in 2023, trying to move away from blitz, and I think a lot of like habits need to be broken, and hopefully we can learn from some mistakes here.
Good. Okay. But I see that in this game you played the Alapin variation, which is definitely one of my favorites. So C3 you play. Do you play this move often?
Yes, I to be honest, my strategy is I did not want to learn any other Sicilian theory, so I wanted to play like an anti-Sicilian, so it's a little bit limiting. Does that make any sense, or should I just like stop playing C3?
No, just why I'm asking, because that's the way I almost always play in Blitz.
Okay.
That's the Alapin variation that I like a lot as white, because it has a very sound idea of just trying to get 2 pawns in the center, right? Trying to fight for the center. And that's a line that I've been enjoying, I don't know, for the last 5 years a lot. There are many different types of positions and variations. There is one course on Chessables that just came out in December, I think, by Kasimzhanov and Ganguly, two very strong grandmasters, about this move.
Okay.
Which I already, looked through, and it's very nice. So if you're playing this line, I would definitely recommend you to get acquainted with this course. But as I said, I have a lot of experience with this line. D5 is one of the moves. The other moves that black do are like that. Another main move is knight f6. It's also possible to play e6. Some people just play d6, g6, knight c6, and e5. Actually, yesterday I played a game as e5 in Title Tuesday. And normally, if you play c3, you should be ready to face all those moves, to know how to react. Okay, but d5 is one of the possibilities. You played knight f3. I'm not really sure what is the difference between d4 and knight f3. I would start with d4 because knight f3 kind of allows e5. You should be ready and know how to react. I'm not sure how you should react after e5. So usually I start with d4. Okay. And usually after d5, c takes d5, queen takes d5. There are many positions with an isolated pawn that gonna appear one way or another, with either black trying to develop the bishop, the light squared bishop, or they play e6. And well, as all isolated position, as all positions with the isolated pawn, this pawn can be a weakness. Well, it is a weakness, right, in a long term, but you do have some initiative. You do have plans connected with kingside attack. Often, sometimes you can try to get rid, to exchange this this isolated pawn by playing d5. So it's a very classical it's a very classical type of positions that appear from many openings. And here you played knight f3 again, e5. I'm not sure. Maybe it's not a good move because of queen e2, d4. I'm not even sure. Bishop g4, okay, but bishop g4 kind of attacks your knight, right? And usually you don't want to let black force you to take with a pawn. You want to keep those pawns beautiful in a chain. You don't want to ruin your structure. Right. So after bishop g4, normally you automatically or almost automatically play bishop e2, protecting the knight. And then getting ready to play d4, getting ready to play short side castle. And actually only now I realize that there is queen a4 also, but it's not winning. It's not winning anything, right?
Right, because bishop d7.
For the moment. Bishop d7, yes. Black can retreat the bishop. So I would just play bishop e2, and I think after knight c6, d4, we reach one of possible positions. Here there is a trick that black is not winning a pawn because after queen takes d4, bishop c6 with a check
Yeah.
loses the queen. That's a trick that allows white to finish development, to play d4, and after, in case of c takes d4, you're willing to play knight c3 on the next move. If black plays knight f6, then with the bishop on e2, here already you're threatening to play c4 and d5, which is not as strong when the bishop is not developed because of intermediate check, queen e4. So here you can play c4 and d5 and get a very good position. And knight a3, there are such ideas in the Alapin variation because of the fact that you put the pawn on c3. This pawn is kind of blockades, right? This way, the way for the knight. And there are ideas to play knight b5 and knight c4, but here again, I mean, we always should have a very careful look at what our opponent, at our opponent's last move. So he plays bishop g4. The first question we should ask ourselves is what is he willing to do on his next move? And it's quite clear that he wants to take. And we don't want to exchange here and ruin our structure on the king side. So knight e3 here is not correct. Yes, because simply we allow black to exchange here, and we end up, yes, you get a pair of two bishops, which is great, but your pawns are too weak. And I'm not sure it's a good exchange. Also, well, he's undeveloped yet, right? You have ideas with knight b5, you can play d4, you can open up your bishops, and probably you're not worse here. But I'm not sure that you're fighting for advantage anymore with such pawns. a6, well, he was afraid of knight b5, and he decided to protect the square, which is quite reasonable. This move is often played. Now you have to understand how you're gonna develop your pieces. And actually, I like the way you do. So you play knight c4, willing to play knight b6. Your opponent plays knight d7. Although, if I was your opponent, I would really consider playing b5. Although it does look a little bit scary, but who knows? Who knows? It shouldn't be good, although for black, because it's clearly undeveloped and those pieces are... It's time to develop them, right? At some point.
Yeah.
Okay, so he played knight c6, which is reasonable, developing the knight. f4. Okay, you're preparing this move, you're opening up the big diagonal, and you're going to develop your bishop to g2. So I like this move. Bishop g2. Then here your opponent decided to protect the knight. He didn't want you to take. He didn't want you to ruin his structure, which is quite reasonable. But again, rook c8, he always has to be careful about knight b6, right? He always has to keep an eye on this move.
Right.
Because this square is weak. He weakened it. Maybe moving the knight onto d7 at some point might be a good idea. But okay, d3, of course, you need to develop your bishop. e6, and here you played f5. Did you calculate the line? So you wanted to play knight b6 and bishop b4, as far as I understand.
Yeah, and I didn't really calculate all the rook moves accordingly, but fortunately, I think my opponent, because I think after I'm trying to play bishop f4, or sorry, I'm trying to play knight b6. You know, if the rook tries to go to b8, then bishop f4, but they don't have to, right? So
it can go to d8 or to c7
right.
in e7, what I like even more.
Right.
When we when we get into complications, when we start sacrificing pawns and pieces, we should, of course, be careful, and we should calculate carefully, because, well, if we miscalculate, then we can just end up being some pawns or pieces down.
Right.
But even though f5, e takes f5, knight b6 immediately doesn't seem to be working, I would still consider playing bishop f4. Okay, I sacrificed a pawn, but I put my bishop in a very beautiful square, and I want to castle long, and I want to start attacking the king that is in the center. I'm not sure if it's working or not. Of course, the problem is that black is not going just to watch and look you castle and play rook e1. I'm afraid that knight h5 is possible, and you should be ready for this kind of moves. So we're getting into some complications and some
Uh,
concrete play.
I mean, just a question here, like if knight h5 and bishop g3, if they take, they kind of help fix our pawn structure a little bit.
Yes, but you give up your bishop, your beautiful
Mm.
bishop. And I want to keep those bishops alive. So unfortunately, yes, knight h5 seems to be quite strong. And okay, you still have bishop d6 with the idea to capture on f8, play knight d6 and knight f5.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. But was it worth it? You could have just played bishop e3, castle, play rook e1. Usually, since you have two bishops, you want to open the position. You want to, yes. But then 95 might have been possible, right? Because if he takes, you can take with a pawn, so you kind of improve your pawn structure a little bit. You
Right.
open up this bishop, and again, if he plays 97, and you can actually consider just taking and winning a pawn. Yes, you can protect, but you can calculate some direct relations. Okay, so f5 was very aggressive. I'm not sure it was needed. And definitely, as I said, when we enter those complications, we should understand that we take higher risk. And, well, we should either double check everything, which is not possible in a rapid game, right? We usually rely on our intuition in most of the cases. But again, like the price of every move increases dramatically after you start sacrificing. Knight b6, which was your main idea. Yeah, rook c7, and here unfortunately has this check, right? And you are not able to castle. But okay, the game is not over. Yes, again, you sacrificed the pawn, but you opened up your bishops. You put the pieces on very active squares. Knight h5 seems to be a good move, unless it kind of blunders something. I don't see. Okay, you played bishop d6 and you exchanged these bishops. I wish we could keep this pair of bishops alive, but I don't see how. I'm not sure about bishop e3 here. Attacking this pawn.
Because the
You
rook
could have
can.
tried. Not how to protect it. The rook c7, for example, or what? Rook e6, yes, but then bishop d5. My idea is to attack this rook until it leaves the e-file, and then bring my own rook to the e-file.
Gotcha.
Because since you sacrificed a pawn, you need to keep this initiative alive, right? You need to try to create this pressure around his king and not let him finish development.
Right.
So it might have been a nice idea. And again, these ideas, they come from a desire not to exchange pieces, right? To keep them alive. Again, since you sacrificed, you're playing with less pieces. Usually, normally, you should avoid exchanging pieces. You should try to keep them on the board. Because with every exchange, some part of your initiative goes away.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I was trying to play aggressively and hunt down pieces, but then when I was trying to...
But exchanges, I'm not sure can be considered to be aggressive.
Right. And I think that's where, like, when I run out of ideas, instead of pushing and looking for more, I think I kind of gave up in exchange. That was me saying, okay, I can't think of anything. Here we go. And I need to push myself not to do that in the future.
Yeah, well, you just need to understand that you are playing a pawn down.
Mm-hmm.
And normally, in order to keep the initiative alive, you need to keep the pieces. The pieces
Right.
help you to create threats. You need to create threats to put this tactical pressure. Okay, knight a4. And yeah, I see that you're trying like to attack your opponent's pieces with every move. But sometimes, well, if you attack, he's gonna protect, right? Or he's gonna counter protect. Sometimes, like, you need to improve your position in order for those threats to be dangerous. For example, here you start hunting this pawn, but it gives some time to your opponent to improve his pieces. Knight f4, rook e5 he plays and improves his position. Again, if I were you, I would consider bringing my pieces somehow to the game so they can make Black's life a little bit more uncomfortable. Bishop d5, rook e1, because the knight is good there. The knight on the rim is dim, right? We don't want to place it so badly.
Right.
We usually try to improve the position of our pieces, and this move seems to be like downgrading the knight. It seems moving again to the wrong direction. Okay, what happened here? Knight to e6. Oh, he just blundered a rook. Oi, oi. Well, yeah. First, you know this algorithm of finding the best move. Have you heard of it? No? Well,
Like checks,
I once,
captures, attacks?
Yeah, something like this. So first, you consider checks and takes, and then attack. Well, you also should consider the same thing for your opponent. What is he willing to do? But it's like the next step. First, you consider checks, because if you give a check, your opponent doesn't have anything else, right?
Right.
It's a very forced line, and well, you should not, of course, miss such tactical opportunities because it's huge. I mean, he just somehow, but you did manage to keep this pressure. You did manage to like put him in a situation where he needed to be precise, and he failed. He made a blunder. Of course, you need to be able to take the effort of your work.
Yeah.
Yeah, so take would have made this game go in a different way. Yeah, instead you won back a pawn. And actually won a pawn, but still your position is winning here. You get a technically winning endgame. How did you lose? That is my question. Okay, let's see. Why do you start playing h3 and okay, you were afraid of knight g4, right? So okay, there is a like life hack in chess in endgames. You normally play on the side where you have an advantage. Here you have the advantage on the queen side, so normally you try to play there, b3, knight b2, a4, right? But okay, here you made this move, I understand, h3, you try to like protect from knight g4, knight f3. Okay, b3, so far so good. So your opponent is also trying to create a passed pawn.
Right.
That's why h3 was kind of... and he managed. Okay, but still, since you have a bishop, it should be... Okay, this bishop is not really standing very well, right? You want to put it on d5 somehow.
Right.
You want to activate it. And that becomes... that's quite challenging. And here king e3 is getting on the f5, f4. So I wouldn't dare to put my king there. It doesn't really help in stopping those pawns, the king, I think. So I would keep this knight, this square for the knight.
Okay.
Knight e3. So I would play king c2, protect the pawn on b3, prepare a4. In case of f5, I can always play knight e3 in case of h4.
Gotcha.
So king c2 seems to be more... Although I'm saying about king c2, but what we're going to do after knight c7? Isn't your bishop trapped? Here. Wasn't knight c4 a blunder?
Knight c4?
Yeah, because whenever you go with your king, black can just simply go knight c7 and capture a bishop.
That is true.
I don't see how you can avoid it.
I was always thinking if like rook a8, I always had this check, and then
a7
a4.
Or bishop b5, yes.
Yeah, but I did not think about knight c7.
Moves backwards, they're more difficult to...
Right.
So yes, that's why That's what I was saying, that this bishop needs to be activated somehow. Probably you had to play bishop c4. Yeah, I know it's kind of sad to exchange it, but it's better than to lose it, right?
Right.
Or maybe a4 would have been a good option. Yeah, I think so. I think that was the strongest move. No,
Okay.
knight c7. Because if rook b3, then bishop b5, and you capture the rook.
Oh.
That's the idea. So it's like tactically it's possible to play a4, but unfortunately, knight c7, I think, anyway.
Yeah. That makes
Although maybe bishop c4, maybe you give away this pawn and you try to push it forward.
yeah.
Should be better for you because you win this one. Kind of his pieces are too far away. Your knight on c4 is beautifully placed. It protects the pawn and the square b2 and the square a3 actually. And yeah, I think it's winning. And again, you see, sometimes we just know. We know that's a rule. You play on the side where you have advantage. That's like axioma. I mean, you know that.
Yeah.
And okay, you start thinking about, well, I'm supposed to play on the side where I have an advantage. It seems like a4 kind of follows this plan. But you see the problem. The problem is rook b3. And that's where, I mean, if you play on the right side with the right pieces, tactics help you.
Right.
Somehow it works when you're playing like strategically correctly. And if it doesn't work, in most of the cases when you play on the wrong side of the board with the wrong pieces. It's a chess magic. Yeah, I don't know why is it like this, but it's like this. If you are like playing where you're supposed to be playing, you know, it works out. Yeah.
Right. It's the preparation was in the past, but
it's not about the preparation. It's somehow about this logic of a chess battle.
it's
Just
could you compare it to like when people get a little lucky? Sometimes it's like you're more lucky when you are prepared. Like you're like your pieces are more prepared on that side of the board. Yeah.
well, I mean, in that case, you're not lucky. Just means that you did everything well.
True. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, luck, sometimes we say, yes, I mean, my opponent got lucky. Well, maybe he just handled pressure better, or he calculated better, or he kept, I mean, he's cool and was able to perform better in some stage. But yes, luck sometimes is an ability to do something better than your opponent. Knight c4. Yeah, so you blundered the bishop, but nobody noticed it. Okay, good for you. But those pawns, they start to look pretty unpleasant, I must say. Yeah. And we know that if there are 2 pawns on the 3rd rank, they are worth more than a rook. So you really got to be careful. And I'm afraid there is no way to stopping them here already. I see he just...
I was trying to find a way for this bishop to somehow come through and help, but it was everything. It was just there was no space.
Well, hard to suggest d4, bishop f1, something like that. Doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. Yeah. Too bad. Yeah, because again, the endgame seemed to be very good for you, but you had to be careful because your opponent also had some compensation. Also, was able to create a passed pawn. And when there are 2 passed pawns, when there is a play on both sides of the board, you got to be careful. Yes, especially since your pieces are so badly placed. So you had to somehow work urgently in order to activate those pieces. Sometimes it's even worse to sacrifice like a pawn in order to activate. That's what you did in the game earlier on, right? You sacrificed a pawn in order to develop your bishop on a better square. And here it feels like the same story. I mean, they're so poorly placed on the A file. They're, stopping your pawn, but other things, they're not helping with, stopping your opponent's pawn. So, you got to do something about it. But yeah, it was a complicated game. There's a lot of things to learn in the opening, in the middle game, and in the end game as well. And next time, if you're more careful in tactic, you can get a full point.
Right, especially when the opponent blunders a full rook.
Definitely.
Do you have time for a training game like you versus me?
We have time for a short blitz game if you want,
Okay.
for a friendly game. Yeah.
And
Now
of
we can
course, I
try
will
e4.
play e4.
Okay, let's play c5. Let's make it like thematical. d5.
Let's see what I learned.
Yes, that's actually a good thing when you go over one line to be able to play it and to try it. I'm gonna develop. Okay, you play d4. You've heard me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I think this is the line where I can play knight a3. Because you haven't pinned the knight yet.
Knight c3 here. I always confuse it. I'm not sure. I think in the course that I'm talking about, d takes c5 is recommended getting into this endgame that I've never played myself with white. That seems as an interesting possibility. Okay, let me try to. Okay, let me take on d4, even though I don't remember what it's gonna bring us.
I don't remember what I'm supposed to do here either. Hold on.
So we're both in. We're both out of our books. Yes, well, knight b5, I think, is the right way to do. If you said A, right, you should say B.
Do you know about the giant fork that I own?
No.
Okay.
What is
It's
it?
you know, like when you fork pieces on the chessboard, I always try to have a visual fork for everyone to look at as well.
Ah, good. Yeah, I've heard some of my followers. Well, some of the tweets, I think, that
Okay.
when I forked Katerina Lagno in the World Blitz, I kind of made. I think you should have taken with another knight, though. Just to keep this one on b5. Anyway, that's also possible what you did. Let me try to understand what I'm going to do with my pieces. Because I'm not 100% sure. Of course, I can simply take on d4, but you see, it's kind of boring. It's a little bit boring. I tell myself not to complicate things, but somehow I prefer to complicate things. Okay, let's complicate. I don't think it's the right move. Because again, as I explained to you, we should try to keep our pawn structure. Beautiful. Okay, but you decided to exchange. Well. Okay, let's exchange. What to do? That's another bad thing when you play against the Alapin, against a lower rated opponent. And there are many lines when you play d5, if you play d5, which kind of exchange everything. And you get a drawish position or a very equal position, a very boring one, to tell you the truth.
It seems like it would be the perfect weapon for someone lower rated like me.
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. If you're playing against somebody higher rated. And here actually I'm not sure, I equalized completely. I'm a little bit behind in development. I gotta be really careful about that. Because those positions, they can be very poisonous. It's an open position. I think rook d1 would have been much stronger than bishop f4. Because here I just castle.
Yeah, I wanted rook a to d1.
Yeah.
But time was more important than...
Yes, I think so. Yeah, you had the right idea, but kind of... Still, I'm not fully equalized in this game. Something didn't go pretty well for me. Okay, let me play knight d5, even though I'm not sure I'm ready for such aggressive moves when I'm behind in development. When I'm falling behind.
Okay. I think this works.
Actually, I was wondering whether knight takes c6 was winning a pawn. Did you consider knight takes c6?
No, but that I was considering after like f6 or something,
You
but
should
that
have.
makes more sense now.
But anyway, we're gonna check it out.
Hmm. Does it not work now? Okay, wait. Well, no.
I don't know. That's more challenging now to calculate. There, I was calculating and I didn't see the refutation, so I kind of blundered it. Well, I didn't believe that it would be possible, but in fact, it seemed to be possible. Okay, f4 is a little bit double-edged because it weakens the pawn. It weakens some black squares, the diagonal, and I'm not sure whether the idea of f5 kind of worth it.
Yeah, actually, okay.
A3. But you needed to make a move, right?
Yeah.
I'll make a similar funny move. What about this giant fork that you were talking about? It's a
That
family
is.
fork, right?
Oh my god. Okay, yeah, that's
Where is your fork?
yeah,
Right.
it was not
But you see,
used
that's what
properly.
I was. That's what I'm saying. When you're making positionally dangerous moves, sometimes it just tactics start to be working in favor of your opponent.
True. Oh wow. This is
Just f4 was a little bit over optimistic,
all
I
right.
would say.
I'm gonna hold on just in case there's any other
Yeah, you
issues here.
gotta try to keep the pressure. Try to keep the game going. Unless it's completely lost. Okay, I will make moves. Small pawns moves. Hoping that those moves kind of improve my position.
Same.
And look. Nice move. I like it. Queen h5, queen h1.
Oh.
Mhm.
Oh, I see.
Well, I mean, those are just checks, but who knows what it's gonna bring us. Okay, let me first try to kick this queen out.
Wait, but then I don't have anything anyway. Yeah.
Okay, but I did make one blunder. Yeah, let's check it out. I'm sure you were able to play knight e6. I told you I didn't like the position. One great move from both of us. Okay, so now queen d8. He doesn't like queen d8. What am I supposed to do? Queen d7. King d8. Oh my gosh. Okay, I gotta check out this line. Okay, then he doesn't like our moves at all. And yeah, 95 is a blunder, he says.
Mm-hmm.
Because you could have played knight e6 and, well, winning a pawn. It's winning a pawn. It gave you a chance to win a pawn. I should have played queen d5. Although it's psychologically more difficult to play queen d5 because you kind of want to get away from this X-ray. Queen b6 would have been more human. But queen b6 I didn't like because of knight f5. Knight f5 is a bad one. Oh, it's hard for me to understand. Okay. Okay. Could be. But that was an interesting game, you see. You managed to pose some problems. Even I wasn't able to equalize, and you had your chances in this game. Definitely an interesting line to play.
Yeah. I will check out the course you recommended, and I think it will. Yeah, hopefully it'll be pretty helpful, especially after hearing all the advice today. I think it's gonna go a long way for my chess.
I hope so. But go and check it out. This course on the Alapin. I'm sure you're gonna learn a lot.
Okay.
It's gonna take time to proceed everything, but it's a good course. I mean, I enjoyed it myself, even though I've been playing the Alapin for as I said, the last I don't know how many years. And I was able to use some of the lines that I learned in this course in my Blitz European Rapid and Blitz games.
Wow.
There were some pretty nice games actually that I'm very proud. That's a good opening, actually. That's when I play the Sicilian, I rarely play it with black, but I always kind of afraid that my opponent would go for the Alapin and we're not going to get an open Sicilian. So that's definitely a good line to study and play.
Is that a common thing where sometimes it's the hardest to play against the other color of the openings that you're familiar with?
Not always. I mean, sometimes I do start playing an opening with both colors just to understand this opening better, to see, sometimes it doesn't work. I mean, somehow you just not playing well one opening with white, for example. Then in order to improve your performance in this opening, you start playing this opening with black. Just to see what black might dislike, what kind of lines can be used with white against black. So you just learn it from both sides, and of course it's very good.
Do you mind if I ask one more question though before
Yeah,
you
sure,
go?
go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, because there's a question from my community that I really want to make sure I asked. It was in your like in your youth, in your training, did you like how much a percentage of your training was dedicated towards solving puzzles and studies versus actually playing and analyzing your games?
Well, hard to say. It was a very long time ago, but I did spend a lot of time solving puzzles. It's required, especially in the first years, to like build up all those pattern recognitions, right? To get familiar with them, because if you solve like 100 of puzzles of 96, you're gonna see it in the game. If you haven't solved it, well, the chances are not so certain. So you
Right.
really need to solve them regularly, but also was solving a lot of puzzles blindfolded, which also pretty important. And because we calculate them in our hand, and what is bad nowadays with those puzzle rushes and with solving those puzzles online, that it kind of gives you automatically the response of your opponent, and it shouldn't be like this. You should be able to foresee it. You should be able. So for us, I mean, for experienced players, we of course calculate, we foresee what to expect. But for less experienced players who are just trying to solve those puzzles in Puzzle Rush, that's not so good. Much better would be to solve them on the board, to take a book. There are so many brilliant books with puzzles nowadays. To set up this position, to think over, to write down all the lines, and then check it with a solution. So it's going to be much more useful. But definitely solving puzzles is essential when you're just like learning chess, because there's tactics. It's 99% of chess, right? As we say. But of course, you should also practice. You should also learn openings. You should also study endgames. It all helps, and it should be kind of all done simultaneously.
Right. It sounds
Grow,
like there's a
yeah, in
lot of
harmony.
everything.
Yeah, definitely a lot of work to do.
Would you say that you did like it's hard to put like a certain number on it, but do you think you did more than 50% of the um of puzzles and blindfolded puzzles and studying openings, or do you think more than 50% was actually playing the practice games or playing games and
Hard to
analyzing?
say.
It's
Hard
still
to
hard.
say.
Okay.
Yeah, but I would say that 50% was of solving puzzles,
Okay.
like another 30 of playing games, and 20 of studying.
Okay.
And games and openings, something like this. But I'm not very good in numbers. I'm not very good in like picking the exact number and percentage.
No, I think
Um,
it's still really helpful and also just very unique to see that perspective because I think your chess resume speaks for itself, you could say.
my chess speaks for myself.
Another question was you've been playing chess before chess.com was even founded, and like now that the servers are
Yeah, I'm
crashing.
very ancient. Yeah.
Well, I didn't. I just meant that you're very experienced and like you've seen a lot of different
That's
people.
another way to say ancient. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Whatever. What was your question?
The question is like, what's your perspective on how chess is growing now, and like both in terms of like serious chess players, but also maybe more people that are in it for just the memeing or like memes or just like casual players. Like, what's your perspective on the overall growth of the sport
Now, you
now?
mean,
Yeah.
in what directions we move?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's like a philosophical question of life in general, right? It's changing. It's definitely changed since the moment I started playing back in 90s. when we had only books, we had old analog clocks, and what we're having now, it's a completely different world with sometimes it's sad because I think people used to respect chess players more, right? They were somehow almost gods calculating all those difficult lines, and now everyone just presses this button, sees the evaluation of the computer. Keep having fun. Now any 1800 player knows better than all those grandmasters altogether. I mean, that's sad. No, really, that kind of, I think grandmasters are less respected nowadays. People don't always understand how difficult it is to play chess without actually having a computer next by and this evaluation and all those lines. So it's different. That's what I say. I don't want to complain a lot because I'm gonna sound then this like a very old person. They tend to complain all the time. It's just different, and we need to get used to it. Of course, as always, we can see positive sides, we can see negative sides, and I think we've already talked. It's up to us. Sometimes when I'm in a bad mood and people in the chat talking about Bottas Gambit, well, I'm definitely it requires a lot of strength not to say something bad. Right. But at the same time, of course, it gives a lot of opportunities for those less rated to interact with the community, to show the different side of chess, and to have fun and to attract more people to chess. Because you see now, I don't know, chess.com servers, they just don't handle the pressure. They don't handle the traffic. What's wrong? I mean, it's a working day, and why everyone is playing chess? So I think professionals should also benefit from this kind of interest traffic, right? Somehow. Sometimes we don't feel that we benefit. That's our problem. Sometimes we think that anyone else is kind of experiencing that profit except us, professionals. But I think it's all connected. It used to be quite a small world, chess world. And I said many times that we need to go out of our world. We need to open up in order to invite more people, more companies, more opportunities for collaborations, and so on and so on. So, it's different. That's when I started. But it's life. We're changing.
I used to think, like some people say, like, oh, like, you're a great person, don't ever change. And I used to hate when people say that, because I hope you do change. Like, if you don't change, you're not growing. So the whole point, is to grow and learn and to change.
But you make a mistake, you either stop doing anything or you will make mistakes, right? If you're trying to do something, you are going to make mistakes. But mistakes is a part of learning and of growing, but the most important thing is how you handle those mistakes and how you handle those opportunities, how you analyze them, what do you decide to do after all those mistakes are done.
Right.
But you should enjoy it as well.
Exactly.
You should keep enjoying.
Yeah. You know how you said, when you're streaming and someone's like, oh, there's a Bottas Gambit. I just want to point it out that even Magnus, when he streams, he has people trying to tell him how to play chess. So
that's what I'm saying. You see, people just stop. They don't realize. When they don't. That sometimes makes me, crazy when you switch on those. Any streamer, right? And he's commentating on Magnus's games. Oh, look, he just made a blunder. And okay, guys, switch off this engine, switch off the evolution, and try to understand what's going on. And it's tough.
Right. Have organic thoughts, not something that a computer is telling you.
Okay, but again, it's our life nowadays. It's a modern world. It's a speed of the modern world. We want to know everything very fast. We get access to information instantly. And okay, there are advantages, of course.
Yeah.
But we need to learn to adjust.
When is your next classical tournament? Is it the?
It's in Munich. Yeah, it's
okay.
a Grand Prix, similar to what you've been commentating in September. Awesome. So actually, exactly the same stuff. A very tough 11 games tournament in Munich. Yeah, so we're driving soon at the end of January there. The first 2 weeks of February, I'll be playing. Whoa. And then hopefully in March and April, I'm going to have more time to stream. I'll be home.
That's fantastic. Well, best of luck in Munich.
Yes. Okay. Thank you again for this time. And I hope to see you again soon.
We will keep in touch. And again, thank you for doing the lesson. I feel like I learned a lot and hope to see you soon.
Yeah. Take care.
You too.